The town of Havenwood was nestled against the vast, unforgiving wilderness of the northern mountains. It was a place where people respected the wild and knew to keep their distance. So when a lone grey wolf began appearing at the edge of Daniel's property, the town started to talk. Daniel was a recluse, a quiet man who had moved to Havenwood a year ago to escape a past he never spoke of. He lived in a small cabin at the very end of the town, right where the forest began. Every night, just as dusk bled into darkness, the wolf would emerge from the trees. It wouldn't howl or snarl, it would just sit there, a silent silver phantom in the twilight, its yellow eyes fixed on Daniel's cabin. It never came closer than 100 yards, but its presence was a heavy, unnerving weight. The local sheriff paid Daniel a visit. "You need to be careful, son," he warned. "A wolf that's not afraid of people is a dangerous wolf." Daniel, however, wasn't afraid. He felt a strange kinship with the solitary animal. He too felt like an outcast, watching the world from a distance. He started leaving out a bowl of water, then scraps of meat. The wolf would wait until Daniel was back inside before cautiously approaching, eating the food, and then retreating to its vigil. This went on for weeks. A strange, silent friendship formed between the lonely man and the wild beast. But one night, the wolf's behavior changed. A storm was rolling in, the wind howling through the pines. The wolf didn't just sit. It began to pace, back and forth, a restless, agitated energy radiating from it. It let out a low, mournful whine, a sound that seemed to pull at something deep inside Daniel. It would take a few steps toward the cabin, then retreat, as if torn between fear and an urgent need. Its eyes were locked not on Daniel, but on the small cellar door at the side of the house. A knot of ice formed in Daniel's stomach. The cellar. He had barely been down there since he bought the place. It was just a damp, musty space for storage, with an old furnace and stone walls. Why was the wolf so fixated on it? The animal's whining grew more intense, turning into a series of short, sharp barks. It was a clear, unmistakable message. Go there. Now Daniel's heart hammered against his ribs. He grabbed a heavy flashlight and with a deep breath unlatched the heavy wooden door to the cellar. A wave of cold, stagnant air hit him. He clicked on the flashlight, its beam cutting through the thick darkness. The stone steps were slick with dampness. He descended slowly, the wolf's barks echoing from outside. The cellar was as he remembered it. Piles of old boxes, cobwebs thick as cotton, the hulking shape of the furnace in the corner. He swept the light across the room. Nothing. "You're a crazy old wolf," he muttered to himself, a nervous laugh escaping his lips. He was about to turn and leave when he heard it. A faint scratching sound. It was coming from the far wall behind the furnace. Daniel squeezed past the cold metal, his light trembling in his hand. The wall was made of old fieldstone, mortared together a century ago. But in one section, the mortar looked different. It was newer, clumsily applied. And it was from behind this section of the wall that the scratching came. With a surge of adrenaline, Daniel ran back upstairs and grabbed a crowbar. Outside, the wolf was now howling, a long, piercing cry that matched the frantic beating of his own heart. He returned to the cellar and began to pry at the stones. They were loose. One by one he pulled them away, revealing a dark, hollow cavity behind them. He shone the light into the hole, and his breath caught in his throat. Inside the cramped, dark space was another wolf, a she-wolf. Her leg was caught in a cruel, rusted bear trap, the chain of which was bolted to the foundation of the house. She was emaciated, her fur matted with dirt and blood, but her eyes still held a spark of life. And huddled against her, shivering and weak, were 3 tiny newborn pups. Daniel stared in horror, the truth crashing down on him. The silent watcher in the woods wasn't a lone wolf. He was a father and a mate, standing a desperate, helpless vigil for his trapped family. He hadn't been coming for food. He had been coming to beg, to plead with the only creature he could, in the only way he knew how, to save the ones he loved. The previous owner, A known poacher who had left town abruptly must have set the trap and walled them in, a final act of forgotten cruelty. Working with frantic haste, Daniel used the crowbar to wrench the trap open, freeing the she-wolf's mangled leg. She was too weak to be aggressive. He wrapped her in a blanket, and one by one, carried the tiny pups up from their stone prison. He brought them into his warm cabin, laying them on a pile of blankets by the fire. The father wolf, seeing his family safe through the window, finally fell silent. He lay down in the snow, his watch over, his eyes never leaving the cabin. Daniel nursed the wolf family back to health over the next few weeks. The story brought the town of Havenwood to his doorstep, not with fear, but with awe and offers of help. The recluse was no longer an outcast. He was the man who listened to a wolf. When the mother was strong enough to travel, Daniel opened his door. The wolf family, whole once more, paused on the threshold, and the father wolf looked at Daniel, a look of profound, silent gratitude in his yellow eyes, before they all melted back into the wilderness that was their true home. Sometimes, the wildest hearts hold the most profound loyalty, and the silent plea for help can be heard by those who are willing to look beyond their own fear and into the darkness.